Earlier today, TVC News reached out to PDP's National Publicity Secretary, but he declined the request to appear today. But joining us on the program for more is the APC National Publicity Secretary, Felix Morka. Thank you for joining us on the program. Let's begin by getting your reaction to the judgment that, on one hand, affirmed the victory of Governor Bala Mohammed of Bauchi, and on another hand, upturned the victory of the NNPP in Kano State.
Thank you very much for having me. Now, at the All Progressives Congress, we are very delighted at the verdict rendered by the Court of Appeal on the Kano Guba race, declaring our candidate, Nasir Gawuna, as the governor-elect. Again, affirming the decision of the lower court in this matter. Now, we're very pleased, not just because, we prevailed in this matter, but because the courts are doing exactly what they were created to do by the Constitution. Now, in Zamfara, the court also ordered a rerun in 3 local governments, giving our candidates a fair chance to compete and hopefully win that election as well. Now, I just want to refer quickly to what happened in Bauchi, where the court, affirmed that the opposition governor in that state actually won the election. Now, we're taking this in our stride. Where we have won, we have, been very clear, and we celebrate. Where we've lost, if there is a facility to appeal, we explore that facility. We do not ask for the dismantling of our judicial system because we lost, which is what the PDP is doing, and that is beyond the pale. Where they lose the election, they declare that the courts are anti-democratic, have been, badly corrupted, but where they win, they celebrate the independence of the judiciary. Now, the judiciary is a legitimate arm of government. We cannot exist as a democracy without the courts. So all of us, whether in the APC or the PDP or in any party for that matter, and all citizens must continue to respect the courts and to give them the space to operate and to review these cases that are coming before them.
Indeed, and the right of appeal that you have mentioned is what is actually available to every party, in an election. And I'm curious as to if your party is willing to abide by the court judgment when it does not go in your favor.
No, absolutely. We have done that. As a matter of fact, every judgment that has come out against our party, including Osun State, we didn't, create any scene. We simply took it in our stride, and out of respect for the courts, that is what we urge the PDP and other parties to do, to emulate the way we have managed any sort of legal adversity where our interests is struck down by the courts. When you go to court, it's dicey. You go to court and hope to prove your case and allow the courts to review the case you brought. You can't be a judge in your own cause. You can't take a case to court and also dictate to the courts how they rule. Judges are independent by the Constitution, and they cannot be blackmailed, as the PDP is seeking to do.
But then, Mr. Morka, some would ask why the APC is winning through the courts and not through the ballots, because, of course, we've seen some cases in Plateau State and even in Lagos where lawmakers have, only recently, been declared winners by the law courts. Any logic behind this?
It's not a question of logic. It's simply a question of how the elections played out. Now, the fact that another party was declared in the case of Kano does not mean we are winning victory through the courts in Kano. It simply means that in the conduct of the elections, things went wrong that were not, addressed by INEC. Now, of course, every contestant in an election is afforded the right, the recourse, the right to have that facility to approach the courts to review what happened. That is a legitimate, procedure that the Constitution has provided. What APC candidates in these matters have done is exactly what the PDP and Labour have also done, to go to court and prove your case. What is going on is that rather than make a lot of noise in the media, as Labour Party and the PDP likes to do, we take our time to gather evidence, as you just announced. In the case of Kano, we were able to demonstrate that the votes didn't add up, and that certain things were wrong. There were certain legal features that were not observed, on ballot papers, and even with regards to the candidacy of the current governor who has just been removed by the courts. You go to court to prove your case. That's what we do. We're not, expecting any magic from the courts. We go there meticulously, working hard to present, a case that is solid. And that's why you've seen some of the, positive outcomes that we're getting from the courts. Otherwise, in the case of Kano, look, it's a wonder how, the APC in Kano would in fact lose Kano. Because the, former governor of Kano, Dr. Ganduje, was a spectacular governor. He did the very best and laid down very solid record in that state. So, but, we're happy that the will of the Kano electorate has been affirmed by the decision today at the Court of Appeal.
Well, let's talk about the off-cycle elections that held over the weekend. In Kogi State, your party's candidate, Usman Ododo, was declared winner. But the SDP candidate in that election has actually vowed to challenge his election victory. Also, in Imo State, the Labour Party has outrightly called for cancellation of the election. Is your party ready for the legal battle ahead?
Yes, we're ready. When you go into an election, you prepare for, whatever eventuality that comes. Yes, we're very ready. Look, the SDP candidate in Kogi and the Labour fellow in Imo, they are citizens of Nigeria. They contested the election. And if they are dissatisfied with the conduct of that election, with the outcome of that election, they are welcome to approach the courts. And we will meet them in court because, the record is there, is solid. So it's their legal right to go to court, but we will be more than happy to meet them in court and to, respond to whatever allegations they bring to court.
Well, elections also held in Bayelsa State, and there are reports that the APC actually went into that poll factionalized. Is that true?
Well, that's not true. I mean, all of the key actors and stakeholders of the party worked for the party, and the election went on as it did. Now, the result was announced, and the opposition PDP was handed victory in the case of Bayelsa. Again, as I've said earlier, we have heard the judgment. We're reviewing it, and our candidate and the party in the state will decide whether or not to challenge the outcome of that election. And should we challenge it, we will be going to court to try to prove that the elections was not exactly how it played out. That our candidate, in fact, deserved to win. Now, to give you an example, during the collation of that the results of Bayelsa, I had to issue about 3 statements or so when INEC decided in certain locations to move the votes to Yenagoa for collation. And it turned out that all of the locations that were moved to Yenagoa for collation were all APC strongholds. We didn't implode Bayelsa. We didn't ask for INEC to be disbanded. We simply protested, but and then waited for the result. Now we will have our day to challenge that outcome if we so decide to do so. And then whatever the outcome may be through the courts, we will also abide by the decision of the final court in the matter. That is what the democracy is about. That's exactly what the APC is doing, and that's what we urge our colleagues in the opposition to do as well.
But how united really is your party, the APC, within its rank and file?
We are very united, across the board. Now, no party, like any family, is without, its issues. But as I'm sure you know, in APC, under the leadership of His Excellency Dr. Omar Ganduje, we are completely committed to working through every difficulties that we may have as a party. We deal with it. We don't let it, escalate like, perhaps the opposition does. We deal with it as it arises and then bring people together. We have a very robust, intervention mechanisms to reconcile differences and to forge a common front. And I think that's why the party, I think, in this election season has been, remarkably successful.
And a lot of expectation from Nigerians, really, from the APC as a governing party at the federal level. What assurances or reassurances would you give to Nigerians at this time who are really concerned about the way things are going, especially with the economy?
Well, I can tell you that Mr. President, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, wakes up in the morning and goes to bed at night thinking long and hard about how to tackle the problems that we face. Look, governance is not, a tea party. It's not a walk in the park. It's challenging. But, make no mistake, Mr. President and everyone he has put together in the Federal Executive Council are working hard. But of course, these things, need some gestation. They need time for the fullness of the impact of the policies and the programs and the interventions that this government has, initiated to actually work out. So I urge Nigerians to be patient and allow the government to sort through frame by frame the difficulties that we face. And I'm quite confident that in no time, we all will bear witness to the radical transformation that will come, not just of our economy, but of the other sectors, and then hopefully make life more livable for all of us.
And, talking about those sectors, security is one of them. It is, very critical, very, very critical, because you talk about schools that are being invaded by bandits. You talk about homes and families who cannot exactly sleep with their two eyes closed. I mean, how much of effort, how much of work is being put in, and how much of confidence do you have in, the security chiefs, for instance, who have been saddled with the responsibility of managing the country's security architecture?
We must again admit that, recently, under the watch of Mr. President, we have recorded, remarkable improvement, but not perfect, not even as desirable as we would like. But again, those who take advantage to attack innocent Nigerians, to attack them in their villages, in their farmlands, who go to school and attack vulnerable, innocent Nigerians. They are the villain. They're the ones that all of us, irrespective of political affiliations, must, condemn and actually work to defeat. We must defeat terror and banditry and criminality in this country. The president is right on top of it. The security chiefs and armed forces who make a lot of sacrifice to keep us safe are working hard to, ensure that all of these, vile elements who seek to do harm to our innocent citizens are, properly dealt with and rooted out, from the hideouts. But again, like we see even in the most advanced countries, insecurity is not something you wish away, because there are people who make it their business to, foment trouble and to cause harm. And you can't always, preempt all of them and prevent them. But what I think this government is doing and committed to doing is to actually mobilize resources and ensure that our armed forces and the police are equipped and financed thoroughly to be able to actually bring us the margin of safety that we need to continue to flourish as a people.
And as it is, the Armed Forces Remembrance Day is just, by the corner. But then many have actually complained about the welfare of the men and women who go out day and night trying to secure our territorial integrity. What would you say about their welfare? I mean, and what can be done to make it more attractive for, civilians to actually be willing to join in the fight?
Yes, no, very important question. Look, no amount of good that is done to our armed forces is too much. These men and women deserve our support, they deserve our applause, and they deserve, to be protected as well, themselves and their families. And I think that's what this government is doing, using all of the platforms, the Ministry of Humanitarian, the Defense, and other ministries to reach out to the families and to these individuals. I know that the plan of Mr. President to boost, security in this country has got a lot to do with also, promoting and ensuring the best welfare for, these good citizens who, sacrifice a whole lot to keep us safe. So I think that, in the unfolding weeks and in the coming weeks and months and years, the individuals who work so hard and put themselves in the line of fire will have reason under this government to smile and be happy.
And this is the APC's 9th year governing Nigeria. What are the prospects?
Solid prospects. Look, we came along 9 years ago on the back of 16 years of utter decadence, total profligacy, and misrule by the PDP. It's not easy to rebuild. It's very easy to destroy, but to rebuild anything, whether to rebuild a structure, a house, or an economy, or the security architecture, it's no joke. So, yes, 9 years may sound like a lot of time, but the damage done by the PDP over 16 years was enormous. But that's not the point. The point is that in 9 years, we have tackled and fixed a whole lot of, areas. Take our electoral system. Even though people still complain that our elections are still not as perfect as it should be, but, our party in 9 years has radically transformed the way we vote and brought more clarity, more transparency to our electoral process. Even our security system, yes, it's still less than perfect, but don't forget that a time was when even in Abuja, you couldn't go anywhere because bombs were exploding in the capital city of our country. But that's now a thing of the past. But even in those outlying districts where these criminals still operate, this government is moving to shut out, all of those spaces and snuff the oxygen out of the hideouts so that we can have, more peace. And on the economic side, this government has, by removing the fuel subsidy, done what governments before it couldn't even imagine doing. Either didn't have the courage or just were not, ready to face the reality of our condition. This government has done that. Yes, there are transient pain and difficulties, but I believe that, to conduce to the optimum realization, hopefully, of the good life for all of us in Nigeria.
Well, yeah, you talked about fuel subsidy. Well, another government actually made the move in 2012. That was Goodluck Jonathan.
Yeah, he made a move and then, back down. Look, governance is tough. This is not an occasion to simply just poke at the problem and retreat. This government of President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has showed character. He has showed, that nerve to take on tough decisions. It's okay to play to the gallery, but he's not playing to the gallery. He is committed to tackling the fundamental challenges that we face. And the removal of fuel subsidy is one of those efforts to, I think, set the country on a path of progress and prosperity.
When speaking with APC National Publicity Secretary Felix Morka, thank you very much for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.